Hey everybody, my name is Matt Moses and I am here with my co-host Gideon Evans, and this is Interesting Times. And Gideon has had a very interesting week, or at least day yesterday. Welcome.
Definitely. Thank you. Hey Matt. Yeah,
Hey.
it was pretty cool. I mean, I think when you watch the news, even when I watch news stations I like, you're kind of skeptical to some degree. There's a layer of kind of like, what's the sheen they're putting on the news?
Yeah,
and
totally.
what's their kind of, views and their politics that they're kind of shifting what they're telling you. But so I think it's important to get out there and just like see things for yourself sometimes and not just hear things from the perspective of a third party news station. So I was just like, I live in New York. I'm in Brooklyn. I'm a short train ride away from downtown Manhattan. And I was just like, I want to check out the Trump trial. So my sister and I made a plan. We're like, she was actually used to be an assistant district attorney in that office many years ago. So she kind of knows how it works. But we made up to meet there at 7 a.m. And yeah, people line up. Yeah, so we were in the overflow room, which is down the hall from the trial. And a lot of media are in the overflow room because actually you can see a lot more of what's going on in that room, more than you would if you were in the courtroom. Because if you're in the courtroom, you're looking at the back of Donald Trump's head. And although you don't see the jury in the overflow room, but you see the defense, you see the prosecution, you see the judge, and
so how do you see them exactly? Is it on a television screen?
It's one big television screen. They have a few screens, and then they divide the screen into different camera angles. So there's multiple angles.
No cuts or anything like that. It's just they're always on the same. Okay. No, gotcha.
Exactly. So anyway, it was very, very interesting stuff.
Wow.
And there was a pretty good witness who happened to come in, and there were a lot of things. The judge ruled on the contempt of court.
Can we talk about that? So that was at the beginning, right?
So they had a hearing on last Tuesday, about that Trump violated the gag order and talked crap about the witnesses, etc., on Truth Social. There's a very specific gag order about what he is and isn't allowed to say, and I guess he violated it, and the judge
he's not allowed to speak about any of the court workers or any of the jury, or
exactly.
I guess disparage the judge himself.
No, he can't. Well. I think he can disparage the judge, possibly, but not like the family of the judge.
Right.
Or none of the judges, like assistants or clerks or anything.
Right, the bailiff or something, I think you wrote about. Like, it's, and so he violated this.
9 times.
And so they finally brought this up in court. Yeah,
last Tuesday they had a hearing without the jury, and then they ruled on it yesterday when I was there. And they said he violated it. Yes, he was in contempt of court, and he had to pay a $9,000 fine. But then the judge also said, I can't really fine you more than $1,000 for each one, but there are other things, including an incarceratory punishment, which I guess means he could send him to jail. So,
whoa, the big house.
So that's like hanging over his head.
Yeah. So you said that we were talking earlier, you said that this may be a sort of tactic of Trump to actually get himself put in jail so as to slow the trial down.
I mean, nobody knows. I mean, people are guessing. Some people are like, Trump would not want to be in jail. But if he did go for 30 days, that would really delay the trial.
Oh my gosh, I didn't realize it would be that long.
He could.
I don't know, 2 days or something.
Yeah. I mean, they could do whatever. They could do 2 days, and maybe that's what would happen.
Yeah.
Like, I doubt he'd go to Rikers. They'd probably just put him in a holding pen overnight.
I guess. Yeah, it's so crazy to think about because, you could see him also just wanting to have that experience, to have that happen, I should say, so as to garner sympathy and gin up his supporters.
Totally.
But at the same time, you could also see him, being really scared to go to prison. I mean, who wouldn't be, or jail? Like,
totally.
They don't know. He doesn't know what is going to happen to him.
And and I have to say the judge came off very even keeled, and very he wasn't making it about him or his personality. He wasn't yelling. Yeah. So I thought that was pretty impressive. He didn't come across as a biased judge that hated Trump.
So, but I do feel like judges get annoyed, right? When somebody is that's the whole thing of contempt of court. The judge is pissed off generally. But you're saying he the way he even spoke about this was in a very sort of matter-of-fact, business-like way? Absolutely.
It's pretty cut and dry. And I think there must be the law. There must be rules about gag orders and when they're violated. And when the judge went to deliberate, I'm sure he was pissed, but he also probably just looked at it, hopefully objectively, and was yep, we have a gag order that says this, and Trump did this, and it doesn't match. So
is this something that could happen the next time he violates it? It's boom, you're going to jail?
I suppose maybe they'd kind of start counting them again and wait till there are a lot of them, and then say, all right, we're going to have another hearing on the last 9 incidences, and then we'll make a ruling about what that punishment would be. So I doubt if he had one more, I suppose one more could put it over the top. I just don't know.
Right? I mean,
you'd think, right?
Up. Yeah. But I've also heard there's a possibility the judge could not do it while the trial is going on, so as to not slow things down, but after the trial, send him.
I think it's pretty interesting. That is a cool kind of strategy, because I think even on a previous episode of this podcast, we were wondering why he doesn't enforce it. Yeah. And maybe that is a smart thing. That's all right, he's just waiting for the end of the trial and just keep it going. And then when the trial ends, even if Trump is innocent, Trump could go to jail.
Right.
Or found innocent.
Right.
So, there were a lot of interesting things. There was a guy from C-SPAN who came to present a couple of videos of Trump for the jury to listen to, because they hadn't even heard Trump's voice yet in this trial. It was the first time they were hearing his voice, which is kind of wild. And also the stuff that went on in this trial was 2016. Yeah. So it's kind of not everybody remembers what was going on, and when these accusations came out about Stormy Daniels, what Trump was thinking about it.
Yeah, for any other politician, we would never forget, right? Because it would be a huge part of their defining persona.
Totally. There's so much of this that it's just you forget what happened. But some of the people on the jury may also just not follow politics.
Yeah, I keep coming back to that. How can
is
these
that
people
possible?
Not have strong opinions about Trump?
Who?
Unless you really don't pay attention to politics or the news. But even that would be hard, because he's more than just a politician. He's this entertainment figure. So,
right.
I don't know. I'm curious. Hopefully we'll get to hear their perspective after they acquit him.
I'm sure we will. I'm sure some of them will write books, or one of them. Anyway, I'll play this.
Convict him.
Yeah, well, hopefully. Here's the clips. It was interesting that they had a C-SPAN archivist present these clips, because in the age of AI, it was the prosecution basically saying these clips are legit. And they talked about how C-SPAN gets the clips, so they were this isn't some deep fake. It's a whole new world, but it's kind of crazy that's how things go now. So, anyway, all right, here is, I'm just going to cue this up.
It's a phony deal. I have no idea who these women are. I have no idea. And I think you all know I have no idea, because you understand me for a lot of years, okay? When you looked at that horrible woman last night, you said, I don't think so. whoever she is, wherever she comes from, the stories are total fiction. They're 100% made up. They never happened. They never would happen.
I think you get the idea.
So there's the clip. That is intense for the jury to just see blatant evidence of him lying, because it is accepted that he did have this affair. Like, that's been established. And
I mean, he still denies it, which is
Does he
crazy.
really?
He denies both happened.
Oh, wow.
But
that was just... Yeah.
It shows that it bothered him for sure. So it shows the state of mind. Also, I mean, it goes without saying that, like, man, does he look so much younger. And he's so much
really?
more forceful. Yeah,
Huh.
That's a video clip that we were
Yes,
able
yeah,
to
no,
see.
you're right. You're right, yeah.
So it's kind of crazy how he is pretty diminished compared to back then.
I know. It just... I don't know. It feels like he'll die, and that'll be the end of this, right? And he'll get away with everything, or he'll gain power, and he will, take over. And,
right, one of those
stack the courts, and then control Congress in some illegal way.
Prosecute his enemies.
Yeah, I mean, right?
But everybody kind of has to put their mind back to that time, right?
Right. Yeah, it's hard to remember.
Do you remember?
It was the days of Bernie and Hillary, and maybe I was more...
Well, right after that, right?
Right, so she had just gotten
This
the
was like
nomination.
October. I mean, no, it's further along than that.
Oh, okay. So
Although
really...
she was kind of in the news a little bit leading up to when they signed these deals. Mm-hmm. So people knew that there was some scandal brewing.
Right, and no one cared, though, because it was Hillary's emails. Thank you, New York Times, and much of the rest of the media. There was that obsession with them, and and then they buried the story, after the election that really and truly there was no actual.
Well, the Comey thing
there
too.
may have been some ethical things, but
and Anthony Weiner.
Oh man, Anthony Weiner, he was my congressman. Yours too.
He went to Murrah. His brother went to Murrah.
His brother.
Our high school.
Was that part of his shtick? I think Schumer, too. They both had the shtick of being like, I didn't get to go tomorrow. I went to
funny.
Our high school.
Oh, interesting.
But Weiner, I spoke at my high school graduation as senior class president.
Wow.
I know.
I was the vice president.
Were you really? Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Look at that. We're both in politics.
I was a heartbeat away.
Wow.
To Thomas Renice.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yes.
I got, really disrespected as president. I just wanted to, make a speech or whatever and hang up posters with my name on them. But I think there was some choice as to, where we would go on the senior trip. And, I was just, written right off. I didn't go.
That's the big president. That's the big decision, the president of the high school.
Yeah.
Well, also the theme of the prom, I remember, is a big one. Should it be, luau, or should it be 70s disco?
Yeah. What was yours?
I don't remember.
I don't remember what it was, but I was also class president in 5th grade, and there the choice was I was advocating for The Simpsons as the theme of the prom, but they went with Opposites Attract, Paula Abdul.
Oh wow! Was that the cat, the animated cat, or that was a different
MC
Scat Cat?
Yeah.
Oh boy! Wow, that doesn't age well.
Yes. Anyway, so
I wouldn't have gone to my prom except that I was the class vice president. I was like, the class vice president should go to his high school prom.
I mean, I agree. You got to press the flesh,
so to speak. Hey-o. I totally
absolutely.
did not press any flesh on my high school prom.
Shaking hands, at least, though.
Oh, I see.
Right.
In a literal sense, right?
Yes. Where were we?
Talking about the trial and about Stormy Daniels and 2016. And so, I went to the trial yesterday, and they had the star witness that gave testimony was this guy named Keith Davidson. He was the big witness that I got to see. And he was a lawyer that represented at different times both Karen McDougal, the Playboy model, who Trump allegedly had an affair with, and Stormy Daniels. We could do away with allegedly, right? I mean, I don't know.
I mean,
what are we supposed to do?
We're not a respected news organization.
Not
we
yet.
Can say what we want.
Yes.
Someday.
And Stormy Daniels. So he represented both of them. Mm. And that was fascinating because when you watch the news, going back to like watching MSNBC or Fox, when they talk about the trial, it's such broad strokes.
Yeah.
And it's for their segments are like 7 minutes. And you just can't cover everything. And
right.
But sitting there listening to this guy, like he takes you through doing these deals, these shady deals with these women to try to like do the catch and kill for the magazine. And it's freaking fascinating. It's so interesting. Like he represented Karen McDougal. And at certain point, the lawyer was negotiating with ABC, and then he was negotiating with National Enquirer, AMI, and he was trying to play them off each other to get a better deal.
Okay.
And it's like, I hadn't heard this. I was like, this is fascinating. And you're seeing text, so you really get the minutia and the detail, and it's fascinating. It's just so interesting.
So she wanted to go forward with her story to the newspapers.
No, the funny thing is she didn't. She,
so what was the deal he was negotiating then with ABC and
that's
AMI?
great. I mean, they didn't go into, he kind of made a joke that they had been which I think was true. They were talking about getting her on Dancing with the Stars.
Oh my God.
But they couldn't promise it. They said they would do their best, but it wouldn't be in writing.
Oh, so it wasn't ABC News. It was ABC
I don't know. Maybe it was ABC Entertainment. I think they never said ABC News, but I was always thinking in the back of my head it was ABC News. But then I was like, wow, that's a legit news organization, and they never pay for stories in the news.
Oh,
but it was Brian Ross. They did mention that guy. He's an investigative reporter.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So he is with ABC News. So who knows? But it made ABC look kind of bad. I thought that they were like trying to get this story, and they didn't mention they paid money for it. But you have to assume they offered a bunch of stuff. Maybe they did offer money, which is not really ethically acceptable for news.
Yeah, I wonder if that'll all be parsed out. I haven't seen anything about that in the news yet, but I mean, there's so much written about it too. But
apparently she had a bunch of lady friends, and they were pushing her to do ABC, and this lawyer who was on the stand was using that as a way to get AMI to raise their price. And apparently the lawyer asked for like $1 million or something, and was trying to get much more money. And part of what Karen McDougal wanted was she was leaning towards AMI, the National Enquirer, because she didn't want to have to talk about it.
I see. Okay. I see now. So it was either she was going to sell her story and tell it, maybe via ABC, or she was going to sell it to AMI, and they would be catching it and killing it, and it would never get out to the press. But she'd still be making some
$150,000, which is crazy. But it's kind of wild that we've gotten to a place. I mean, again, we've heard all this stuff about catch and kill, but when you hear the details, and I didn't see the David Pecker testimony, which must have been interesting, but it is so weird that we have magazines that part of their business is to buy a life story and then pay for it and kill it. And it's like, who came up with the idea for doing these deals? Like, did it start with the lawyer? Like, did did Karen McDougal even know that she could do this type of deal?
Well, I imagine that AMI must have reached out to get the story first, right? Because it was all started at Trump's behest, because he wanted to kill these rumors about his affairs. Yeah, I think.
I mean, I'm trying to remember what went down in the trial, but I kind of think this lawyer might have texted AMI first.
Oh, wow.
It was either Stormy Daniels or Karen McDougal, and he was like, I have a blockbuster Trump story.
Wow.
So I think everybody knew this would make them some money. You know, it's like an industry that's kind of like under the surface that people don't know about.
Yeah.
And then Karen McDougal, or was it Stormy Daniels? One of them had this manager, I think it was Stormy Daniels, named Gina Rodriguez. And she was like a manager for certain talent, but she was known as like a story broker. So there are like people in Hollywood, in your neck of the woods, who like, they try to find these like shady stories and just try to like make some bucks off it.
Wow, you know,
isn't that weird?
Well, it's interesting because it's like, can you ever really kill a story if it's out there? You know, if it happened, I feel like, I don't know how much. I mean, I feel like there's ways to sort of, you know, inoculate the public against a story being told a certain way, perhaps. But I feel like the truth generally will come out, even if it's twisted in a certain way. So I'm curious, like, are there stories that have actually been squashed that never got out?
I'm
or do
sure.
they just come out, you know, like, oh, Rock Hudson was gay, he had that squashed, you know?
Well, one thing that they did talk about, too, in the trial was that as they were getting closer to the election, there's that Access Hollywood moment happen, and then the public and the media got hungry for more of these steamy stories. And there was some Hollywood sleazy blog posted about Stormy Daniels. Yeah. And I think part of the discussion was, oh, the story's already out there. But then AMI, the Inquirer, was like, yeah, but there's a difference between it coming out from some entertainment blog and Stormy Daniels actually coming out and telling it herself.
Right.
So I think you're right. Like, you can't prevent it, but it's a huge, it's so much of a bigger thing. Yeah, I mean, if
that makes sense.
If you're hearing, and it goes to what I kind of said at the beginning of our conversation, like when you watch the news, there's a layer of like skepticism where you're like, is this real?
Yeah.
But when you see and you might have skepticism when Stormy Daniels tells it herself, but it is more powerful coming from a person who actually said she was in the room.
Yeah, no question. And I'm sure, you know, reporters could fact check things and see if they were both in the same city on the same night and, you know, et cetera. Stuff like that can make a huge difference. Okay, so I remembered why I was talking about high school before. High school. And it was because, so I made that speech at graduation and Anthony Weiner spoke after me.
Oh, my God.
Weiner,
That's
and, you know, I got to
funny.
say, I was a big fan of him for years. And even after the
He's
first
smart.
story came out, I was like, what an idiot. Yeah, he's so smart, such a great speaker, and it's such a shame. I mean, he really had this horrible, I guess, compulsion or mental health thing.
Yeah.
Or something, or just, he's a creep. Like, what? I don't, it was hard to understand how it.
Did you watch the documentary about him? I never saw it, actually, but people say it's great.
Yeah, I'd be curious.
Called Weiner. It's supposed to be excellent film. But I think what gets certain people into politics is probably the same thing that gets them into trouble, right?
Right.
Where it's like you want power. Why? Because, like, you weren't cool as a kid and you're looking for, like, hot women to like you, and, you know, it's pathetic. So. But, I mean, why do people become rock stars? Well, power. Right. What did Kissinger say? That fame is an aphrodisiac. Oh, wait, not fame, power.
Yes.
Power's an aphrodisiac, right?
So gross. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense. And I think he really thought he was on the Schumer track. I mean, I would think so too. He was from the same district, and just were both amazing. Seems like amazing politicians, you know?
Yeah, and he ran for mayor, right?
He did. I mean, that's when things fell apart. Although, I think...
Did he actually run? Yeah, he did. Did he run after the scandal, or did it happen during?
He ran after maybe one bout of the scandal. So, and then I think while he was running, and I think he was like on track to maybe win.
Oh,
because,
wow.
Because I guess he was able to get over the first hump of scandal. But then it happened again.
Yeah.
And that ruined it. But then I think it happened again. And that's when he ended up going to prison.
Right. And then he was with that woman, Huma Abedin, who was like Hillary's. I think they had a kid together.
I think they have two. Yeah.
Yeah, 2 kids. Wow, he really shat the bed, so to speak.
I know, what an idiot.
So why is it that someone like him, gets in trouble for that type of scandal, and Elliot Spitzer, but then like Trump somehow is immune. Not immune, but I mean the Access Hollywood thing, everyone thought was going to kill him, politically at least. I
don't know. Teflon Don, right? They used to say
I was
that about
thinking
famous,
of Teflon Don.
Did they say it? I feel like it started with a mafioso, though, right?
Yeah, Don. What's his name? He used to have a fireworks show in Bensonhurst.
Oh, the Gotti, John Gotti, right? Is that what we're thinking of?
John Gotti, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, but they said that about Reagan too, that he was Teflon.
I guess so. I mean,
I think they did. I remember. I was a little older than you, I guess. I remember they used to use that expression for him. Because he had those, he had some pretty bad scandals.
Wait, for
Iran
Trump
Contra? Reagan. Yeah.
Oh, Teflon Ron?
I don't know if they said Teflon Ron, but they used to say he was like Teflon somehow.
Yeah.
So, anyway, why is Donald Trump? I mean, I guess not everybody forgives him for his scandals, just that 32%.
Right. Well, yeah, I guess maybe that's it. It's just he has that unbreakable base. And someone like Weiner or any other politician maybe is never going to have that. Although you have to wonder if sex scandals are just going to be different now, or most scandals.
I mean, I think part of it, too, is I remember when Biden ran for president, everybody was kind of like, should he become more middle of the road to appeal to everybody, or should he throw red meat to the base? And I think most people who run for office are like, when I'm running for general office, not a primary, I'm going to become less partisan and less extreme on one side of the political spectrum. Yeah. And rather than throw red meat at the base, I'm just going to try to appeal to everybody a little bit. But I think Trump was the opposite. And he was like, the way I get elected isn't by pretending I have views that appeal to everybody. I'm just going to have the best base ever. Yep. And the only thing I'm going to do is throw red meat to them. And then hopefully that'll be enough and if I shit on Biden enough, that'll turn Biden's people away from Biden. And then that in combination with having a really strong base will get me elected. So it really helps.
This is the new politics too. I think in general people view that now as the way to go about things.
But that's not what Biden does, I guess. But he's more trying to be middle of the road. Maybe after Biden, other Democrats will.
He certainly is. But I have a lot of issues with Biden, certainly. But I think overall he has governed towards the left, kind of.
To some degree. I mean,
to some degree he has. He's done a lot.
He's been smart. I think people know he's not some radical squad type politician, so he can get away with moving to the left and not coming off as some raving commie.
I think that's why a lot of people like AOC, I think, has been pretty good. She's not constantly attacking Biden, generally, on most things, because I think he's delivered on quite a bit of her priorities and the that left priorities.
True.
So anyway, he's a very accomplished president.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much breaking down with Israel and everything right now, and he's taken it's a tough line for him to walk, I guess, but it's I don't know.
It's really hard. It is hurting.
Because he really had the left with him, and then I think that's kind of hurting him.
Well,
now.
the young people. Now he's gonna legalize pot. He's gonna change the type of. That's gonna get him the college. I don't know if that's gonna get him college-age people, but we'll see.
Yeah. Honestly, I think Schumer is just such a smart politician in the way he's addressed Israel. Partly because his bona fides with Israel, and I think he truly believes, like, okay, what's happening now is not good for Israel or anyone. Or us. And, just coming out and taking that hard stance against Netanyahu, making it about him rather than the country in general, I think is brilliant, and I think is also pretty on point in many ways. But I guess maybe Biden just can't do that,
I mean, he
has to maintain the relationship, but...
Yeah, he called Schumer's speech a good speech, but I guess that's not the most strong, thing. I think Biden's whole strategy has been, I'm going to tell off Netanyahu privately. That's his style of politics, but in public, I'm not going to shit. It kind of is tough when you're president because you want your allies to not think you're going to shit on them in public,
That's true, but Netanyahu shits on the U.S. all the time.
Absolutely. Yeah, Netanyahu's a shitbag, but...
I mean, seriously, he's really a nightmare for the world.
Yeah,
Israel.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but that's another episode.
Whole other issue.
That's really... I don't even know if we want to, but we could. It's been a wild week in New York, for sure.
I mean,
that's happening.
It's so wild how much that's getting reported on the protests.
The college campuses.
Yeah. I was thinking the other day, if they actually were broadcasting the Trump trial, the college campus thing would be not paid attention to that much at all.
I don't know about that. I don't know. It's so over the top. It's really to take over the college, basically.
I know, but I think the thing is, I feel like it started out, I think they just gave it oxygen, kind of, the people getting so worked up about it. And if they hadn't done that, it probably would have been I don't know, not that big a deal, or like a local news story kind of thing. Right.
What I mean? Maybe, possibly, that's a good point. Well, social media probably helped it go across the country, because it did seem like it was only a couple of places. And then it's just
all over.
Yeah.
Well, as soon as the Columbia president was, in Congress making those statements, I think that, and then she came and I guess she felt like she had to do something, and that sort of, I think, inflamed things.
Yeah.
And maybe if she had been really, number one, not made all these public pronouncements about it, which is she's, maintaining this political image, right? And balancing sides and all this stuff. And had just sort of, made a targeted approach in terms of, rooting out anybody who truly was violent or truly was saying, some anti-Semitic thing that wasn't just, that was truly anti-Semitic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Rather than just being looping all the protesters into one group, because then that happened. And then I think, the real vicious protesters are the ones who are outside the campus. From what I've read, it sounds like the ones inside. Yeah.
It's hard to say. I've seen some pretty yucky things, but
is it from? I think it's stuff that's happening outside campus.
I don't know. I'm not positive about that. It's pretty upsetting, but it's all. You're screwed no matter what. I mean,
that's the thing. She's going to have to resign. I mean, she's going to have to.
She might be. Nobody likes her. That's the problem. No. You can't really please everybody. And that's part of, it's a no-win, especially when you do those, when you get called to Congress and they have a beef with you like that.
Right.
There's no way you can win. Way. And if you kind of, try to pander to the Republicans, that's really not going to help you with the Republicans. You're going to be their enemy no matter what.
Right.
But then if you kind of pander to the protesters, that doesn't necessarily look great either, but if you're the head of the university.
Yeah, it just, I don't know. That's why I think the targeted approach but rather than smearing the group. You know what I mean? I just think that would have maybe inflamed it less and not making, I don't know, and maybe even, I don't know. It's a tough call. I don't know what I would do in her shoes, you know?
She'll probably have to go at some point.
I mean, she will, because the
especially if
professors are all turning on her. You know,
and if the graduation is ruined, that's going to be a big deal.
I wonder if that'll happen. Well, because that already happened at USC. They had to cancel it. So crazy.
Well, now the cops are going to be on Columbia's campus for the rest of the semester.
Yeah.
Which could either keep peace or do the opposite. But we'll see.
Well, you heard what Brown did. Did you hear about this?
They kind of appealed to some of the demands.
Yeah, they said, okay, we'll take a vote in October.
Right.
We'll do it. We'll take a vote on it.
That might have been a smart move. But I don't know if Columbia would have been able to do that.
Yeah, who knows how things are dealt with in terms of their boards.
If you talk to, like, the people who are giving millions of dollars to the college, and you're like, okay, I'm going to say we're going to take a vote, and that, like, the people that are giving the money are like, all right, well, I'm not going to give you $20 million.
Right.
It's a tough call as, like, you know, if you want to be ethical and everything, but, like, money talks. And if you know you're going to lose all this money,
right,
that's, like, unfortunately, you're just, like, gonna have a tough time turning that down.
Right. I wonder, yeah, because it's not, well, it's not, the president doesn't, like, get a cut of the fundraising, right? I mean, I'm sure the development.
No, but if they don't make as much money, I would think that's grounds for being fired. Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
I guess it just depends on what you want to be fired for, you know?
Yeah. Well, this has been very interesting. We hit on a million things, and I think the moral of the story is that, like, when you have problems, whether you're a university president or a U.S. president, or, you know, money is just gonna be the linchpin in everything, pretty much. It's kind of sad.
Oh, nice tie-up.
Is it? Yeah. I don't know.
I thought it was very good. I didn't know where you were going with it.
Halfway through, I was like, I don't know if that's going to work. But
I know.
Thank you.
Right. Money is at the center of both of these to an extent. I don't know how much is at the center of the protests, but absolutely it plays a big role.
Just in terms of whether you quash them or not.
Right. I mean, I think that's partly why she felt the need to speak out, you know, and address them in such a forceful way, and then in doing that, fanning the flames, and then, you know, anyway.
Here's one last question, and then we'll wrap up. If you had a boss who was accused of some, you know, affair that could, like, hurt his career, would you take it upon yourself to figure out how to write a check for $130,000 to get him off the hook? Do you think there's anyone in America who would do that without the permission of the boss?
I don't think so. Well, in particular, if you have a boss who is known for not paying people back, and you're using your own money for it, I just can't imagine. But I guess you think, hey, my boss is going to be, you know, the next Bill Gates or whomever, Satya Nadella, and you're like, that's going to give me fortune for the rest of my life. So that's maybe what you're thinking is the possibility. I can sort of see why somebody might make that deal with the devil.
Maybe the defense will play that up.
Yeah.
How Michael Cohen... Yeah, he did.
Trump did pay him back, which I was reading about. I was shocked. I did not expect. That was a twist for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess Michael Cohen will talk about what went down that made that happen, whether they had a deal.
Yes. Right. I mean, it just seems like the case is so strong.
I think so.
With the documents, with the witnesses.
Well, reasonable doubt, too. Like, you can have a tiny bit of doubt and still convict the guy. It's just like, when you use common sense, it's like, who else? Who's the only person who benefits from paying off these women?
Yep. That's it.
All right. Well, we'll continue our chat next time, and thanks everybody for listening. Have a wonderful rest of your week, Matt.
You too, Gideon, and everybody
Thanks.
else. Hope you have some interesting times.
Absolutely. Very nice.